Money doesn't grow on trees. This was my upbringing. And when you come from poverty, that's what you know. Save your money, save your money, save your money really is not a philosophy to grow money. You're benefiting the banks. If you study wealthy people, first of all, they never use their own money. They're buying assets over long periods of time that are hard to duplicate. You can't pay too much for one-of-a-kind stuff. It's impossible. I bought SpaceX Friday, and I sold it within 27 minutes of buying it. Money requires three things. And if you don't pay attention to any one of these three, you're going to end up with no money. 78% of all NBA ball players, NFL ball players, MLB ball players end up with no money within 4 years of retirement. Same thing with Bitcoiners, by the way. I'm a little disappointed in the Bitcoin community. They don't seem as positive about Bitcoin as they were. They windshield wiper pretty easy, like left, right, left. All these guys that are predicting it's going to 40.
That's your brother.
My brother, dude. I don't think he really believes it, by the way. I'm gonna buy another 282 here in the next 30 days. I bought it at 108 and I'm fine with it.
There are over $4 trillion sitting in real estate investment trusts. And my guest just built a real estate Bitcoin hybrid that is going to put that decades-old industry out of business. Welcome back to the Bitcoin News Channel. I'm your host, Rob Wallace. Share this video with one person who needs to hear it. Today, I'm joined by Grant Cardone, the real estate mogul behind Cardone Capital, who came from nothing and built an empire on grit and the belief you need to trade your cash for hard assets as soon as you possibly can. In this conversation, we get into how Bitcoin radically transforms real estate investing, why he believes his Bitcoin product can go head-to-head with Michael Saylor's STRC, and the contrarian mindset that carried him from a childhood defined by scarcity to a multi-billion-dollar empire. This one is about the mentality to build wealth, the tips to keep it, and the skills needed to grow it. Enjoy. All right, Mr. Cardone, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yes. So you are here on the Bitcoin News Channel. We're going to talk about real estate, talk about Bitcoin, wealth, how to build it, how to keep it, how to grow it. But I think the most valuable thing we could start off with today on this episode is talking about your mindset. You definitely have a contrarian look when it comes to wealth, how to keep it, build it, and everything that goes along with it. So first off, I got some questions with you. You say that Bitcoiners and real estate investors are very similar because they both view cash as a melting asset, right? You always want to trade the cash for something as hard as soon as possible. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing this since I was 28 years old, converting cash that I would get from others for a service or a product that I was selling and say, hey, how can I improve the cash? My uncle told me this when I was probably 27 or 28 years old. He's like, okay, you know how to work, you know how to get money. Now you need to figure out how to convert it to something better. And so when I was 28, 29 years old, I started looking at, Bitcoin wasn't around at that time. I didn't understand stocks, trading a piece of paper for another piece of paper. Certainly if I could go public, that's different than if I'm just buying somebody else's stock. Because if I'm going public, I'm taking my company and improving that to a quality asset that I can now control the volatility of, hopefully, by growing it. But when you're just keeping paper and converting it to somebody else's stock that you don't have control of or don't know, you're gambling. And, if I'm buying a treasury bill backed by the U.S. government, it's just another piece of paper. In the case of real estate, I'm converting to concrete, glass, and steel that cash flows, get a big tax write-off when I buy it. I like that I don't get with stocks and I don't get by just saving or treasury bills. And then, I get the long-term appreciation either through the increased value of the real estate that has the rent growth or simply because money is deteriorating at probably, 1 or 2% a year. In my lifetime, it's, $100 is worth, just in my lifetime, is worth about $10. So saving money, as I was taught by my parents and grandparents, save your money, save your money, save your money, really is not a philosophy to grow money. And it's just, you're benefiting the banks. Look, the same banks that you save money in lend me money to buy real estate. So they won't lend me money to save money. I mean, here's the simplicity. They're not going to lend you money to save money at the bank, but they will lend you money to invest in an asset that is going to appreciate because of fiat destruction or because of the money printer.
And I want you to talk to me about your abundance mindset. You say clearly that you take responsibility for absolutely everything in your life, that everything that comes your way is because of you, your decisions, and what you've done. But at the same time, you say that you grew up with the feeling that the wheels were always going to fall off, that something bad was always just around the corner. How did you go from a scarcity mindset in your youth with a hard time growing up into an abundance mindset now as a multi-billionaire real estate owner?
Thank you. The responsibility thing is a huge thing. I started smiling when you said it, because if you can assume responsibility of everything, even the things that are injustices and just bad luck, which those things do happen, I still put myself in that situation. I have to be responsible. I have to take on some responsibility because it empowers me. Even if you did something to me that was wrong and I didn't deserve it, the moment I can say, you know what, I'm responsible. I went out with you, or I met with you, or I agreed to do something with you. It puts me back into power of I moved from victim to basically to like, okay, I participated in the activity. And look, I've had some terrible things happen to me in my life. I was beat up when I was 23 years old with a 45 caliber pistol, had 70 stitches put in my head and face. But when you're done blaming and crying about it and woe is me, and then say, wait a minute, I invited the people in my home. And the moment I do that, I can start changing my behavior, because I can't change yours. I can change mine. So that is a separate topic, though, from the scarcity piece, right? The scarcity and abundance piece is like, that's something you have to really, really work on. I don't even know if you ever get rid of it. I was brought up by a single mom that experienced the Great Depression, and her ideas became the soil that I grew up in. There's a book, I think it's called The Psychology of Money. It's a really good book because it shows you how the period of time in which you were raised and the geographics that you were raised in really, really greatly affects how you consider everything, and especially money. And so the scarcity mindset I have to work on still today. Like, as weird as it might sound, I was just in the south of France, and like everything's outrageously expensive there. And we were in a shop, and my wife's buying clothes, and she's going crazy. And we're with some friends, and they're doing their thing. People get over there and they go crazy. And there was a pair of sunglasses, and my wife's like, you want these sunglasses? They look good on you, da, da, da. And I'm like, how much are they? It really doesn't matter now at this point, right? But I cannot not ask how much. I still have this mindset that's like, there is some scarcities, because I don't know, tied to your other question about the world's going to come to an end. I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop. Warren Buffett had this. Who's the guy? Who was I reading recently? They spend Steve Schwartzman. They spend 80% of their time literally focused on not losing money. Because once you get it, and it's hard to get, it's not an easy thing to get money. I mean, it's not really that hard, but once you do get it, whether you're a pipe fitter, a mechanic, an engineer, I've done all those jobs. Roofer, I've done that job. HVAC, I've done that job. Sales guy, you got to see 100 people to sell 10 or 15 of them. Once you get the money, the last thing you want to do is go blow it in a bar, or blow it on some token that is going to go to zero. Because then you're stuck with two losses. I earned it and lost it, and then I invested it and lost it. And then that triggers that whole loss mentality. So I don't want to lose money. I want to get it. I want to protect it, which means I'm going to miss out on some great opportunities. I bought SpaceX Friday. I was trying to get 8,000 shares of it. I was only given 1,000, and I sold it within 27 minutes of buying it. I picked up 35 grand and paid my taxes on it. And this morning I'm waking up to a 207 or something, and I'm like, oh, I could have picked up another $23,000, but at least I have a win.
Yeah. I mean, I was about to say that marks the top. If you say you didn't invest in Nvidia, none of these AI stocks, but then you invested in SpaceX, that means that everybody get out. We've reached
Well, the reason I did it, okay, the reason I did it was because I saw how much retail activity was going into it when they relieved. I don't know who relieved the limits. You could put they reached all the way down to a $2,000 investor. I'm like, oh, there's going to be millions of people buy that. I think there was $4.8 billion made just by retail investors on Friday. And so that's really the reason I did it. I'm not a stock investor, but I did take a swing. And I do love Elon, by the way. And I will probably take another position in SpaceX after it corrects here in the next 3 to 6 months.
Well, it's so interesting with you because you definitely have an abundance mindset. You're not afraid to go out and make money in any environment. But at the same time, you say you like to stay illiquid. Put your money in savings that you cannot access easily. So you feel broke
Yeah.
and it makes you go and make more money.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I do is, I've always heard about this: be liquid, stay liquid, keep dry powder. That has not benefited me at all in my life. Okay. I end up with a bunch of dry powder that I never invest. So when I started investing in real estate, I invest in very few things. Okay. And when I do, I go very, very hard. I would prefer to be illiquid than liquid. The SpaceX is a perfect example. I bought it Friday. I sold it 25 minutes later. So I had to make two decisions: one to buy it, one to sell it. When you buy real estate, you do not make those decisions. You buy it, and you're stuck with it. It's a very illiquid asset, which I think is a benefit to a long-term investor to be illiquid. When we buy Bitcoin today, we attach it, we hybrid it to the real estate purchase so that we're also in that asset for long periods of time. I don't want to look at the number. If I can look at a number, I'm going to look at the number. I think everybody's going to do that. If you invest in something and it's got a 12 on it, the number's 12, and then you're going to look at it and see 11 or 13. If it goes to 13, you're going to be like, I didn't buy enough. And if it goes to 11, my timing was bad. I don't like that because now I'm being knee-jerked and I'm starting to feel a bit more like that victim, like I'm getting played here. When you buy real estate, we bought a big deal from out of debt, bad debt that Blackstone was carrying. We bought it from the bankruptcy courts. It was $235 million. I'm going to own that asset for 10 or 15 years. There's no number on it today. Like, is it worth 235 today? I don't know. Is it worth 300? Probably, but I can't sell it anyway. I just bought it. I don't want to get rid of it, but basically I want to own that asset for long periods of time. I want to convert cash to a solid asset, to a real asset, a hard asset that has some scarcity to it. And in the case of that piece of real estate, or a Bitcoin, by the way, there can't be two of those. That piece of real estate that I bought is Main and Boca Raton. You can't replace it. You can't tear it down. It would take 3 years to rebuild it. It would cost 40% more to rebuild than what I paid for it. And I'm going to wait 10 or 15 years and create real wealth like that. The middle class buys things and sell them. They're liquid. So they have the opportunity to sell something like I did with SpaceX. But the wealthy people tend to own assets for long periods of time and never, ever sell them. And what they will do, though, is they'll put debt against them and borrow against their debt rather than selling the asset.
And when it comes to this abundance mindset, you say that the money's just out there, right? You just got to get as close as possible to it. Remove all the layers in between. So you don't.
Yeah. When I was growing up, my mom, said, save your money, save for a rainy day. A penny earned or penny saved is a penny earned. All these sayings, money doesn't grow on trees. This was my upbringing. And this was also my dad died when I was 9.5 years old. And he had the same mindset because they came from poverty. And when you come from poverty, that's what you know. But if you study wealthy people, first of all, they never use their own money. They're raising money from others. They're buying assets over long periods of time that are hard to duplicate, whether it's a business or real estate or a data center or whatever the case might be, right? If you start really studying money, there is so much money on this planet. It is unbelievable. It's probably the least scarce asset there is because it can be printed at will. There's like $900 trillion of real estate. There's $400 trillion of stock equities, or $400 trillion of debt. There's $130 trillion of, like, it's immense, amazing amounts. And by the way, when they run out of any of this stuff, they just print more of it anyway. It's all manufactured. And so there is no shortage of money. There is a shortage of people hustling the money. There's no shortage of people that are complaining about not having enough money or talking about working too hard. I had a guy in here in my office yesterday, Morgan, John Morgan. He created the largest litigation. You probably know him. Everybody knows this guy. He's on TV, billboards. He spends $600 million a year in ads. Well, you're in a car wreck. I can help you. Okay. His company will make $2.5 billion this year for his firm. And he's a regular, everyday guy. Tillman Fertitta grew up down the street from me. He owns 600 restaurants. He's done $1 trillion in food sales. He also owns the Houston Rockets. He just bought Caesar's Palace for $12.5 billion. He's the ambassador to Italy. This guy grew up literally 2 hours from my house. He's my age, like endless amounts of money. Dana White and the UFC and the Fertittas over there sold their company for $8 or $9 billion to Paramount. Paramount was set, hey, you paid too much for the UFC. And, Sunday night, they had more viewers than the Super Bowl. So, here's Elon. He's worth $1 trillion today. I think he picked up another 200 billion yesterday in a day. So this is what people should be doing. They should be studying. In order to see abundance, you have to go look for the abundance. It's easy to see scarcity. And if you're poor, you're growing up poor. That's your soil that you're growing up in. All you see is poor. And I go to the south of France and I'm on a 150-foot boat, and a 200-foot boat pulls up next to me, and then a 250-foot boat, and then a 300-foot boat, and then a 350-foot boat, and then a 455-foot boat pulls up. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, there's so much prosperity on the planet. You just got to look for it. What you look for, you will see. And if you're looking for poverty, you'll find it. If you're looking for wealth and abundance, you'll see that as well.
And so what is the most foundational skill to unlock to get closer to this abundance? Is it sales?
Well, I think at this point, not sales yet, but you do have to get, like when I want something that I can't have, a yacht, for instance, is something I would like to have one day. I cannot do a yacht today. And this would be the most ridiculous purchase I would ever make in my life. And I'm admitting that, right? So that being said, I can't have it yet. So what do I do to have it? It used to be a car, okay, or a girl, my wife. My wife is somebody I couldn't have. How do you get the things you can't have? Well, the first thing you do is what I do is I mark it down. Hey, I want that. Okay, I like that. So I start taking pictures of it or looking at it. Back in the day when there was magazines, I'd pull it out of the magazine. Today, I'd take a screenshot off of Instagram. I want that. I like that. I'd start researching it. See, even if you can't afford something, you can it's free to research. Okay, what's a big yacht? I can look at it, look at the colors. The first thing I'm going to do is start collecting mental images about what this thing looks like. What's an Amels yacht or a Fed ship. Like, I'm going to start collecting data, even though I can't buy it. This is completely free, by the way. So that's the first step. Okay. The second step would be, how can I get closer to the action? Like, if you're trying to hit a target, I grew up around guns, right? And if you're the further the distance is between you and the target, the harder it is to hit. The closer you get, I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer. If you're close enough, I could shoot you in the head. If you're running for 300 yards, it's going to be a very difficult shot to pull off. So the second thing to do is move closer to the target. If you don't have any money and you want to be on a yacht, the best thing to do would be to go work on a yacht. to literally work and be of service on a yacht. There's a lot of people, by the way, in the yacht industry that never pay for the yacht, and they spend time working on them and like literally own the boat for free, and they're paid to do that. So the second thing would be to go, if you don't want to work on a yacht, then go to a yacht show, or deliver the water, dude, get in the room. Okay. The third thing you'd want to do is once you're on the yacht, now you want to get to know the owner. Okay. And this is for all the construction workers out there. You guys go work on these expensive homes and you're putting on a new roof or siding or a bathroom or a kitchen. Get to know the owner. Okay. Don't just do the work. Once you're in the space, make contact. Success is a contact game and money's a contact game. The closer you get to money, the more you start talking to it and learning how to talk to it and communicating with it, the better chance you have of getting it.
Yeah, I've heard you say that the most valuable thing is relationships, right? And that if you had to start over from zero, it doesn't matter how much money is in your bank account, it just matters the people that you have in your phone that you could contact. You could have been stacking free Bitcoin this whole time. Instead of just scrolling, drop a chip with Sats Drop from Rhino. 3 free drops every day. Hit a super drop and win bonus drops, multipliers, and jackpots of up to 100,000 Satoshis redeemed right in your Rhino wallet. Free Bitcoin is literally 1 drop away. How much of your success would you chalk up to being able to push yourself into do the things that are uncomfortable?
Yeah, I would say I stay very uncomfortable. I would say a portion of most of my life. One of my kids said that to me the other day. Scarlett said, "I don't want to do that." I said, "Baby, look, hey, 90% of my day, I don't want to do. So I don't even know what you're talking about when you say you don't want to do something. Okay, if you want to be successful, you are going to do a million things that you don't want to do, that don't feel good, that you're not comfortable. It's out of your comfort zone. You're going to be scared to death. You're not going to be any good at it. You're going to probably be embarrassed. You don't know how to talk to these people. Like when I go to these fancy dinners, I don't know what fork, what spoon, whose bread is my bread. I'm completely out of my element. I was with the dude the other night. This is about, I guess, 2 weeks ago, right before we went to France. I'm not going to give you his name, but he's one of the most successful movie stars in the world. I mean, this is top of the food chain all the way to the very tip top. And dude, look, I've been around a lot of people. I've had a lot of experience being around a lot of super successful people, but there's people where you, because you're not in that environment, you don't know your place yet. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being a little uncomfortable. You could actually get too comfortable too soon. You got to kind of I remind myself, hey, know your place, know where you're at in the food chain here, the hierarchy, be respectful, spend some time not talking right now, let everybody else do all the talking and kind of start figuring out where you're at here. Like all that's very, very uncomfortable. Much easier just to be at the house, kicked up on the sofa, watching a fight or a game with your family where you don't have to dress a certain way. You just do whatever you want because they love you the way you are. But if you really want to grow, you're not going to be around the people that just love you the way you are. You're going to be around people that require you to grow so that you can love you as you become the person you should be. And that's what I just keep reminding myself, man. Keep being in uncomfortable situations where you grow, because that's how you become something better than what you are today.
And you do that with your own family. You teach your daughters how to negotiate and haggle for a deal.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad at asking for money off or for a better deal.
Bro, you should get with my wife because you guys would be a perfect pair. Okay. My daughter and I were in a shop in France, and I showed her some things. I said, that would look good on you, that would look good on you, and that would look good on you. And so I showed her the 3 things. We pull them off the mannequin. The lady's getting all excited in the store. Scarlett's getting excited. And then the lady throws in a 4th thing and says, oh, this little swimsuit would be great on you. And I said, okay, Scarlett, find out how much all four of them are. And now we're going to start working the deal. Okay. And now Scarlett's got to be in this. She's 14 years old. And there's four pieces. I said, what's the price on four pieces? What's the price on three pieces? What's the price on just two pieces? And, oh, by the way, none of that works. So what's the price on this by itself? And we negotiated the deal and still didn't buy. Okay. Negotiated everything. Great. Give me your card. I'll call you later from the boat. I'll call you and maybe we do it. Maybe we don't. Oh my God. The lady, man, her face went like, ugh. She got all negative and I can't believe this. And then she starts saying, what if I do this? And what if I do that? I said, that's a great idea. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we start working the deal out. Then when we get back to the boat, I said, okay, Scarlett, call her and tell her, you're going to tell her, look, my dad's a really tough guy. I said, this is called a third party. It's called a third party negotiations. You use a third party to negotiate with the primary party. And you use me to get a better deal. And so, the outcome of this is we got what Scarlett wanted. The store got something. They're probably not that tickled about it, but they made a sale, the last sale of the day. And some people would say, oh, man, you're cheap. Some people would say, why do you do that? You have all this money. Why don't you just give them, whatever they wanted? But, I would just suggest to you that my daughter is going to have to learn how to negotiate. See, money requires three things. I got to get it. I got to keep it. And now I have to multiply it. And the more I can keep, the more I can multiply. And if you don't pay attention to any one of these three, you're going to end up with no money. And we all know all the ball players. I think 78% of all NBA ball players, NFL ball players, MLB ball players end up with no money within 4 years of retirement. They knew how to get it because of a skill set. They had an agent that negotiated with them or for them. And then they have a problem keeping it because they get their first money. Same thing with Bitcoiners, by the way. The Bitcoiner, they have problems. The new Bitcoiner, not the old guys, okay? The old guys really don't, the old original Bitcoiners really don't know anything about money. They know enough about money to say, I don't want fiat, I just want the Bitcoin, but then they don't know how to go get fiat to buy more Bitcoin. That's what's wrong with the Bitcoin market today. The old guys aren't buying more Bitcoin. So I think negotiating is very, very, it's a great skill set because it forces you to be uncomfortable. And, and most people don't learn anything about this. I mean, Donald Trump's one of the great negotiators. Like, whether you like him or don't like him, it doesn't matter. He's a tremendous negotiator.
Absolutely. All right. So you brought up Bitcoin. Let's get into it. You've had over a year now of doing these real estate Bitcoin hybrids, and they've been doing wonderfully for you, correct?
Well, the Bitcoin has not done wonderfully. So we started buying at 88. I think it was 88. No, we started buying at 74,000. We bought through 82, 84, 86, 92, all the way up to about 105. We accumulated last year about 2,000 Bitcoin. So obviously all that's pulled back. Our average, I mean, I've been buying Bitcoin since, for about 14 years, but we started doing the real estate Bitcoin hybrid January of 25. We're on our fifth deal now. And what we do is we basically buy the real estate. We buy real estate that's undervalued. If it's 30% below replacement cost, we're going to stack it with 30% of that price of Bitcoin. So we're going to have a total going in of the replacement cost of the real estate, believing that once I get back to replacement costs on the real estate's under this really huge correction right now that nobody talks about. We're so busy talking about the Iran and SpaceX and AI that nobody's paying attention to real estate. Commercial real estate is having massive correction. Like, we're buying a deal right now, 40% below replacement cost in Naples, Florida. It's going to be $90 million. It should be selling for like 110 or 115. We're buying it for $90 million, 282 units, and we're going to add 282 Bitcoin to the purchase. So we'll pay cash for the real estate, we'll pay cash for the Bitcoin, and connect them. Our entry price into the Bitcoin will be around $64,000. Our asset, the real estate investment will be at around 90 million. We combine both of those, and then I let my audience know that we bought them. I think we'll be all in at about 115 or so. And then I'll tell my audience, if there's 115 investors, each one of them puts $1 million in, I'm just using this example, then each of the 115 owners will now participate in the upside of the real estate and the Bitcoin. The ultimate goal is not to sell the real estate or the Bitcoin, but is to put both of these together with these other 4, 5, or 6 purchases and take them to the public market as a real estate Bitcoin hybrid. It'll be one of the first in the marketplace, only one in the marketplace, and we believe we're creating a financial vehicle here that can't be easily duplicated because of the people that we compete with, like the REITs. Real estate investment trusts cannot keep any currency on their balance sheet. They have to distribute 90% of their cash back to their investors because of their tax structure. So we have the largest institutional players on planet Earth cannot compete with this real estate Bitcoin hybrid because of their tax structure. So it's going to give us, we'll be in a position, we believe, where, a decent piece of real estate will return. An institution wants like a 12% return on that asset. We think we'll buy that same asset below replacement costs, add the Bitcoin, and we end up with a 25, probably a double or maybe even a triple because of this platform, and start to pull out of this $4 trillion REIT industry. There's about $4 trillion. If I get 10% of that, I'll be a $400 billion company. If my thinking's too big, I cut it in half and only get 5%. I would be 200 billion, and I'd be the largest real estate company in America with less real estate than my competitors because of the Bitcoin. That means, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that means I could end up being a larger real estate operator with less roofs, less gutters, less maintenance, less CapEx, less property taxes, less termites, less evictions, less government control, because we hybrided the two together. We could still be bigger.
So this could completely disrupt and destroy the REIT industry, right?
I hope so.
Does that put a target on your back? Do these guys know what you're doing, and are they scared of what the future could bring?
I don't think so. These are a bunch of old white guys, man. They've made money one way. They've made money buying real estate. Blackstone's got 180,000 units. I'm sorry, Blackstone has 280,000 units. A buddy of mine owns a company called Cortland. They own 180,000 units. They're not adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Not in there. They're all 55 and 60 years old. Starwood owns 140,000 affordable units. Dude, they're not thinking about Bitcoin. They're thinking about, we have roofs. We have to buy 300 property roofs this year. They own a bunch of 1980 and 1990 product. They're going to have termites on 20% of those this year. So they're fixing swimming pools every day. They're redoing and rehabbing kitchens and floors and evictions. And they got assets in hotels and apartments in New York, and they're worried about Mandami. Adding Bitcoin to their treasury is like, fuck, dude, bro, we got our hands full right now. One, they have their hands full. Two, their structure legally would not allow them to do it. Now, there's all the other syndicators that aren't REITs, privately held, like the Camdens and the Avalons that own, they're big owners. But these guys, these are 60-year-old white guys that have made their money with physical assets, waiting for rents to grow, and they're moving into retirement. They're not moving into a new growth stage, and they're exhausted. Real estate is a very heavy, tiring, it's an exhausting game because it's such a heavy asset. So imagine doing this for 30 or 40 years, and when you're 60 years old, hey, we got a new idea. You're like, new idea? Fuck, I just want to take a vacation. I don't want any new ideas. I just want to get out of the game. So I'm basically hitting an industry that's very, very old, 65 years old. The REIT industry's been around since 1965. The people that surround it and work in it are old, conservative, fiat-based, TradFi. You telling them Bitcoin's going to change the world, they're like, what are you talking about? Okay, I made all my money one way. I want to get off this train and I want to go into retirement. So I'm hitting a spot that I believe will have very, very little competition, even if it was wanted and warranted. I've met with all the groups that I've mentioned already. I've showed them my model, showed the president of Starwood the model. He's like, I own Bitcoin twice, sold it twice, and wish if I had the model that you have, I would have never sold my Bitcoin. And his entry's like $6,000. Mm-hmm. But he saw it go from 6 to 30, flipped it, made some money. He's like, if I would have had your model, because it's tied to, it's fused together with that asset, I wouldn't have sold the real estate. I would not have sold the Bitcoin, and he would have the best of both worlds. And also, I believe I met with Fannie Mae, three or 4 weeks ago, and they were like, explain to us the Bitcoin thing. Now, Fannie Mae does $11 trillion in real estate debt. That's what they have on their books today. And I said, explain to me, we heard you're doing the real estate thing, the Bitcoin thing, because when you get big enough with Fannie or Freddie, you have to go meet with those guys before they give you a new tranche of money. They're required to do their further due diligence on the party. And so it was that time of the year for us to go meet with them. And they're like, explain to me the Bitcoin thing. I said, well, the Bitcoin sits on our treasury, basically with that asset. You're not lending me money on the Bitcoin. He says, okay, so we gave you a 50% loan on that real estate deal. What's the Bitcoin have to do with it? Nothing, except the Bitcoin sits in that LLC. He's like, so it's sitting there like money. I said, yeah, dude, it's sitting there like I have a $100 million deal. I have $50 million of debt with you. The $100 million deal is servicing the debt. And then I have another $50 million in Bitcoin sitting in this platform. And I said, if I had $50 million in cash, it wouldn't bother you, right? He's like, no, that'd be great for us because you have CapEx that you can take care of, or you could pay down the loan if you need to. I said, exactly. But what I have is $50 million of Bitcoin that's extremely volatile. It could be 50 million today, 25 tomorrow. It could be 10 million. I mean, it might the bottom might drop out of it. Could go to zero, by the way. You're not connected to it. And he said, yeah, but it could go to 200 million. I said, it could. I hope it does. And then my belief in the future, my goal, and I told Fannie this, my goal is to come to you. I'm going to keep building these out. I don't need you to lend me money to buy the Bitcoin. I'm not asking them to do that right now. I'm going to come to you in the future with a batch of these. And I'm going to ask Fannie to create a Fannie Bitcoin mortgage. And I'm going to, in the future, I'm going to come to you guys once the marketplace buys into this concept. And the way to do that is for me to prove the concept, to validate the concept. I'm going to come to you guys and I'm going to try to get a loan, a long-term loan, 12 or 15 years, or maybe even 20 years, or maybe 30 years on a commercial asset. And that would combine the two, okay? So I would ask for like a 30% loan on the real estate and the Bitcoin and get much cheaper money than you could just borrowing against Bitcoin or maybe even just real estate.
Mm-hmm. And so how do your investors benefit from the Bitcoin? You split the upside 50-50, I've heard you say?
Yeah, we do. What we've done on the last two deals and we're doing on this current deals is we do a 8% pref. The real estate's doing about 3 or 4% with the Bitcoin. The real estate would do about 5% without the Bitcoin. It would do cash flow of 5%. When I add the Bitcoin, it pulls the cash flow down by about 40%. So we're still getting a 3% yield on the real estate and the Bitcoin combined. But I'm so confident in the asset, the combination, because of the period of time that we have. We offer the investor 8% preferred. They get the first 8% per year, and it will accumulate if we can't pay it. So in 10 years, I owe the investor 80%, their money back, plus 80%. Once they get their 80% over a 10-year time period, we would then split the upside of the real estate and the Bitcoin 50-50.
And then you could liquidate the Bitcoin if they requested. That's how it works.
Well, I could liquidate the Bitcoin to, let's say Bitcoin went to $1 million. That project we bought last July, we bought 1,175 Bitcoin. For every unit, we added 3 Bitcoin. So we bought it was a $235 million asset, and we added $100 million of Bitcoin to the purchase. Let's say Bitcoin went to $1 million today. I have 1,100 Bitcoin there. I could flip off the Bitcoin today for 100. If it went to $1 million, I'd sell it for $1 billion. I'd give them their half. I'd take my half, and we would still own the real estate. Or the real estate could go up 100 million or 200 million. Let's say over the next 5 or 6 years. Easily do that, by the way. We have it mapped out to do that. I could flip off the real estate. I could sell the real estate as condos, pick up a $200 million score on the real estate, make the investors whole on their 8%, and then split 50-50 on the real estate, still own the Bitcoin.
And you think that this could compete with Michael Saylor's STRC?
Well, yeah, in a way it can, because he's offering an 11 with no upside. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm offering an 8 with a 50% upside of the Bitcoin. I mean, I'll outperform STRC.
Mm-hmm. And
but that STRC is not. It's not built. It's built for the guy that wants an 11.
Yeah,
I'm built for the guy that wants an 18, and wants the real asset. I've met with Mike many times. Okay, Mike's an unbelievable guy, genius, phenomenal, like unbelievable. And he actually helped me build this platform. I went to him to get advice about, okay, how would I do this? How do I combine the two? And he's like, well, you shouldn't even do the real estate. You should just do the Bitcoin. I'm like, dude, that's not my business, bro. I'm a real estate guy. So the first deal we did was an 85-15, 85% real estate, 15% Bitcoin. And he says, well, that's a pussy fund. That's not even I don't even know why you're bothering. He says, you need to go like 85% Bitcoin and 15% real estate. And I'm like, Mike, why would anybody do that with me? Like, you'd be better off just buying your own Bitcoin and not even being in real estate. I'm a real estate guy. I can't. That's what I'm doing. I'm a real estate investor. That's what my audience expects me to do. So we came up with a model where we're doing, it's 50-50. It's in the case of that last deal, it's a fairly aggressive fund. And then he did STRC after that. And so when I looked at that, we weren't offering a pref. We were doing a 0. I think it was a 0 and 20. 0 preferred, a little bit of cash flow each year, and then a 20% of the upside. That was the first deal we did. The last deal we did was an 8% preferred, because that gives our investor confidence that it can out-deliver a treasury bill. Mm-hmm. And the investor gets a depreciation, a write-off that you don't get from STRC. Because we get a big tax write-off because of the real estate in year one. And then we also get the cash flow. So this will cash flow, and the cash flow will grow as rents grow. But then we also get 50% upside of the, it's more like it's more like MSTR, but with the one difference, which a lot of people like, which is I have a real asset.
Well, Bitcoin's a real asset too, but yes, a real world, yes, absolutely.
I mean, I have a real physical,
Exactly.
I have a physical asset that you can touch. There's an address. You can see this.
Mm-hmm.
Look, now, the reason real estate is such a big asset class is because you live in it. And, explaining Bitcoin to somebody is very difficult.
Yeah.
Explaining a piece of real estate to someone compared to explaining Bitcoin, look, there's the address, 101 Meisner, Boca Raton. Google it. You can see it. I can't Google Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So 99% of planet Earth understands real estate. Maybe 1% understands Bitcoin. When I put the two together, I don't have to explain the Bitcoin. I have to explain the real estate, show the real estate, show the returns of real estate. A lot of people want to be involved in even have mandates to invest in real estate. The Bitcoin is just a tag along. And I think that's why we've been so successful with this model. I've raised money faster with the real estate Bitcoin hybrid than I ever raised on a straight real estate deal only.
And it opens up the doors to people like CalPERS investing in Bitcoin through this fund, right?
I love that idea because they have a mandate to invest in real estate. I don't know that if they're allowed to invest directly into Bitcoin, but CalPERS could. They have a mandate to invest in real estate, best in class real estate, by the way. CalPERS one day, I believe, will invest in Cardone Capital as a real estate Bitcoin hybrid.
And this could lead you to going public, right?
It could lead to many great things.
I hear you.
It could lead to this being 1965 again, and where REITs have not changed for 66 years or whatever the number is. This could be 1965 where real estate and Bitcoin become the new REIT model.
Mm-hmm. And do you think this is something that a small time investor could replicate? Or do you need to be at your
absolutely.
scale? Yeah.
100% they could. Yeah. You 100%. Now you wouldn't do it on your home. I wouldn't do it I would only do it if you're cash flow positive with the Bitcoin. 2, you should be below replacement cost when you make the purchase. Meaning a neighbor can't build for the price that you paid. 3, you don't want to over leverage the asset. So you probably need to be 60% loan to value. And you need long-term debt. You don't need a 3-year loan on this. That's why single family homes don't work. You'd just be better buying off the single family home if you want to buy one and buy a Bitcoin and have them separate. But when you fuse them together, you're creating another kind of animal, right? It's like another movie. It's not Superman's a movie, Batman's a movie. The two of them to get together, it's a different movie. And I'm creating a new financial asset class.
And so now that you've been in this Bitcoin real estate hybrid for over a year, you spent a lot of time with Bitcoiners, you're in spaces all the time. Give me your 30,000 foot view of the Bitcoin community. Where are we right now in its long-term growth trajectory?
The people that I've onboarded, we've onboarded about 1,500 people into our real estate Bitcoin hybrid. They're more, and by the way, 80% of those people owned no Bitcoin until I put them in these hybrids. They are more positive about Bitcoin than the Bitcoin community. Okay. The Bitcoin community today, I would say the sentiment is, they're knee jerkers, and they I don't know. I mean, I'm a little disappointed in the Bitcoin community.
Explain.
Well, they don't seem as positive about Bitcoin as they were, like 2
years ago.
Yeah, dude, they windshield wiper pretty easy, like left, right, left. We're in, we're out, we're not, and I look, you can talk about Bitcoin, but if you're not buying it, if you're not buying it, you're not buying it.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with the Bitcoin community. If I can say there's a problem. Look, if you're just waiting for something to go up in value and you're not out creating fiat to buy Bitcoin, like it's this all or nothing concept. It's like I was in a space once and they said, you need to sell this 3 years ago. You need to sell all your real estate, all of it, get rid of all your companies and only own Bitcoin. And I'm like, but dude, that's stupid. Like, we live on a fiat planet. Okay. I have businesses that we collect fiat on a daily basis. I have 5 companies. We produce about $700 million of revenue. 99.99% is paid in fiat, some kind of form of fiat. And a tiny bit of it comes in Bitcoin that people pay. And we take Bitcoin across all our platforms and our real estate. But still only a tiny bit is so my job is to go out and collect fiat and convert it to something better. And in my case, I'm converting it to a real estate investment, or I'm converting it to Bitcoin, or in this case, the hybrid. The Bitcoiners out there, the guy that bought 11 or 12 years ago, he bought Bitcoin for $1. You know, when Peter Schiff said, don't buy it, Jim bought $1. He bought 20,000 pieces. He had 20 grand his grandmother gave him, and he bought 20,000 pieces. And he looks up today and he's got, you know, whatever that is, 20,000 times 64 grand. And he didn't do anything brilliant. Like, he's not a genius. In fact, I would say that he was merely lucky, because genius, he's not qualified to be a genius because he didn't buy it at $2. He didn't buy it at $3. He didn't buy it at $10. He didn't buy it at $1,000. He didn't double down again at 2,000, 3,000, 30,000. Like, he quit buying it. So like, for me to take advice from the OGs that bought one time when it was under $100, no thanks. I want to talk to the guys that are buying Bitcoin today, paying today's prices. Mm-hmm. That's who I want to listen to. So I don't take advice from all Bitcoiners today. I'm like, what was your last entry? What was your last purchase? How many did you buy? What percentage of your portfolio is in Bitcoin today? Are you buying more Bitcoin this week? And if you're not willing to answer those, or you haven't been active in 3 or 4 or 5 years, much less 11 or 12, I'm like, thank you. And I'm glad it worked out for you, but I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, it goes back to the abundance versus scarcity mindset. And when you have only Bitcoin and you're just sitting on a big pot of it, you get scared, right? You're like, what if it goes down? You know, you're watching the price go up and down constantly every single day, and you're not thinking about new ways to get more fiat in to buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah, because buying it at 64 is different than buying it at $6.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and imagine a guy bought it for $6 and he could have bought what would that be? 10,000 Bitcoin. Today he has to pay to get one Bitcoin, 64 grand. Can you do that? Because if you can do that, you believe in the Bitcoin. And by the way, if it's your last 64,000 and you buy one, now I'm like, okay, why? What are you thinking? What do you know that I don't know? Why are you so convinced right here? Tell me. Okay. Now, all these guys that are predicting it's going to 40, it's going to 58, it's going to 54.
That's your brother.
My brother, dude. My brother's he's on this 58 bandwagon. I don't think he really believes it, by the way.
He's good at getting engagement.
Yeah, it gets great engagement, right? We bought this week. I'm gonna buy another 282 here in the next 30 days.
And
and I bought it at 108, and I bought it at 92, and I bought it at 84, and I'm fine with it. I bought the real estate. I bought real estate that people said, hey, you paid too much for the real estate. 10 years, you won't say that. Mm-hmm. And if you buy best-in-class, pristine, perfectly located real estate, you're not paying too much. You could over-leverage it, but you can't pay too much for one-of-a-kind stuff. It's impossible. And so this guy, Morgan that does all that litigation, he did $2.5 billion. He's like, look, man, this is a location game. I said, what? He's like, litigation is a location game. The guy that runs Louis Vuitton, he said, Louis Vuitton is not a clothing store. It is a location. McDonald's is a location store. Coca-Cola is a location game, okay? They get the best location in the store. Starbucks gets best locations. Any locations that are marginal, they dump them. McDonald's, same thing, location. So the location, Bitcoin is a location play to me. It can go anywhere in the world, okay? It's invisible to the naked eye. It holds no space and time. Real estate, very, very heavy, solid, sits in a physical location. When you combine these, it's like a yin and a yang. Mm-hmm. And so whether I'm buying the Bitcoin at 58 or 48 or 38, I mean, I'd love to buy at all those levels. I don't want to. I would prefer to never had the chance to buy at 38,000 again, but I will.
And tying these strings together, you say that like the REITs, those investors from 1965, they're tired, right? You want to go into businesses where the people who have been there for a long time, they're exhausted and you can scoop it up for them on the cheap. And it sort of feels that way in Bitcoin right now. The people who have held for 10, 15 years, they're tired, right? We've seen these OGs sell out and then you come in and it's a completely new market, new people to sell to. And that's how Bitcoin will grow in the long run, right?
Yeah, and look, when we did this, we didn't expect the Bitcoin community to support the hybrid. I didn't expect any of them to. By the way, we have had Bitcoiners invest in the fund either because they wanted to support what I'm doing, or they like the hybrid. Because Bitcoiners tend to like real estate. You'll hear them talk about, both of them talk about, like gold bugs could have been Bitcoiners, right? There's that similarity of, oh, there's a scarcity here. And the Bitcoin doesn't get a cash flow and the real estate does. So it does provide some solution for the Bitcoiner. But we did not expect Bitcoiners to support this in a big way. I really expected this to be supported by real estate investors that are willing to bet on Bitcoin as kind of a hope note or insurance, if you will. And that's kind of what's, so, yeah, that's what's played out. Mm-hmm.
But you've said also that these average investors for this hybrid are older than your regular investors, right?
Yeah. The demographic, I was wrong about the demographic. I thought it would go down. It went up.
Why do you think that older people would be into this?
I think because of the way the inefficiencies that Bitcoiners explain Bitcoin. Mm. There's a very inefficient. You need to read the Bitcoin standard. You must invest 100 hours in learning about Bitcoin. I'm like, fucking bro, I don't invest 100 hours to buy a fucking car. What, are you kidding me? Like, nobody is investing 100 hours. People go to college and don't spend 100 hours in the class. Like, if you have to read a book and spend 100 hours learning about it, this is a failed product. So I'm not explaining Bitcoin to people. I'm explaining real estate that comes with Bitcoin.
And people use Bitcoin and real estate to retire, but you think retiring is a fool's game.
Well, it's because I'm not tired. So, I don't want to retire, dude. I never even think about it. I've literally never had the concept of, am I going to one day? I've never had. The only time I think about retirement is when somebody asks me the question, would you retire? I'm like, I don't think about. I think about how much juice can I get out of this physical body I have. So yeah, I don't think retirement accounts, IRAs and 401ks, I mean, they benefited Vanguard. They didn't benefit the regular person. Those, it's a scam, dude.
Yeah, they take your money for a long time and do.
Give me 30 years with somebody else's money. Yeah. And by the way, the IRS is going to benefit more in 20 years than they benefit today. So the IRA, the best real estate, the best retirement account on planet Earth is real estate. Bar none, nothing competes with it. Because at the end of the 30 years, at 73 or 74, whenever you're forced to withdraw, by law, the IRS forces you to withdraw 4% of your account per year. You're taxed on that money. With real estate, if I replaced my IRA or 401k with a real estate transaction and kept it for 30 years, I'm going to have all this rent growth for 30 years. Assuming you bought a good piece of real estate. The real estate's going to be there 30 years from now. No, unless it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Even if it's old and tired and beat up, it's still going to be there. And then in that 30th year at 74, when I'm forced to withdraw the 4%, I don't have to withdraw from the capital account. I can live off the cash flow. Mm. And I can live off the cash flow for another 20 years. I'd be 94 years old. And when I die, now I'm really tired. When I die, okay, the real estate then gets transferred over to my kids because they're the beneficiaries of the retirement account. Whereas the Vanguard account will be exhausted 4% for 20 years. 80% of it has been exhausted. You only have 20% left in that retirement account, which the IRS is going to take most of. So with my case, I'm not selling my retirement account. I'm transferring it as a gift to my kids. The real estate will continue to produce income. They'll hold it for another 20 or 30 years and do the same thing that I did. Real estate is, without a doubt, the best retirement account on planet Earth that nobody does, because Vanguard and Fidelity and Charles Schwab makes it so easy for people to load up into their retirement account.
All right, so let's land this plane here, Grant. I appreciate your time, but I want to ask you, you've done so much, right? You've written books, you've started businesses, you talk all over the world, but you say you got to constantly reinvent yourself. So what are you going to do now to reinvent yourself?
Oh, well, we're starting a wealth advisory company. So we're going to become a little Blackstone, and we're going to start managing people's money. We've raised $2 billion. We've crowdfunded $2 billion without an ad budget, using Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, allowing regular families to invest in institutional quality real estate. The funds they're 10 years with discretion to go another 10 years. So this is very friendly money. But you're going to see me get into the wealth advisory business in a big way and start managing. I have 20 million followers online. I reach about 200 million people a year on social platforms with education. We democratize success here. Any trick, hack, secret, gimmick, anything I learned that is beneficial to me and my company, marketing, sales, scaling, hiring people, I share it with the public. And I just give it away. Here it is. And then about 50 times a year, we do a real estate event. 50 times a year, we do a business event. I do about 100 events a year. And some tiny portion out of that 200 million viewers a year say, hey, I want to come see your event. And then they start doing other stuff with us, whether it's consulting or real estate investing, or they get involved in our Bitcoin hybrid, or they hire us to consult their company. Well, every one of those people, we do business with about 158,000 people a year in our education company, another 20,000 in our consulting company. Those 200,000 customers every year, they all have bank accounts, retirement accounts, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, JP Morgan accounts. By the way, these giants that I'm mentioning have completely ignored America, regular people. Okay, like JP Morgan, like you need to drop $100 million at JP Morgan to get any attention at all. You need $1 billion plus liquid $1 billion to get a meeting with anybody at the executive level there. And you probably need $5 billion to get a meeting with Jamie Dimon. So, and that's not going to change. Okay, these $1 trillion companies are not going to suddenly start paying attention to regular everyday people. And that's a glitch. It's a glitch. They're too big to service the regular people. Grant Cardone is going to come service those people and build out like Charles Schwab did years ago with their discount offer, or their, free to trade. So we're going to become like a physical Robin Hood.
Nice.
Like a bank, like a little Blackstone.
Amazing.
That's the transition, man. And everybody's got to transition. You're either going to transition or you're going to get transitioned.
100%. And then last question, your dad, and you've said you can give a man $1 billion, but that doesn't mean that he can raise kids well. I am a new dad myself. I've got a daughter. She's about to turn 1 in about a month and a half now. What tips do you have to the dads out there?
Well, hey, congratulations that you have more kids. Mm-hmm. Okay, whatever you think you want, add another one. They're going to be the best, most unbelievable thing that you do in your life. I know my kids have been the ultimate gift that I've been given in my life. It's the thing I'm most proud about, is being a good dad. I spend a lot of time with my kids. The advice I would give you if you were asking for it, only if you were asking, homeschool the kids. Treat your baby right now at 1 year old, treat them, assume that they understand every single thing that you say to them right now. And whatever you want them to learn when they're 21, start teaching them when they're 1. Okay. They hear everything. They consume everything. They are perfect beings the way they are. They might be in little bodies, but the truth is these are intelligent, unbelievably intelligent beings that are just in little bodies. And, whatever you want them to know when they're 21, bro, teach it to them right now. Homeschool them, bring them to work with you. Don't drop them off with a bunch of strangers. And remember that they don't need to be around a bunch of kids because they're going to spend most of their life around adults. So I would just tell you to skip the bullshit. They don't need, my oldest finished school at 15. She's been out of school. She's 17 now. She's been out of school for 2 years. And my youngest will finish at 15 because we homeschooled them. Get them out of the system, man.
I hear that. That's definitely a message that resonates with Bitcoiners.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Grant, thank you so much for your time today. If people want to learn more about you, I'm sure they can just look you up, of course, but if there's any specific place you want to send them.
No. If anybody's interested in what we're doing on our real estate, go to Cardone Capital. That's where our current prospectus is and our deals are. We're about to acquire about $600 million from a major institution. So we're making a lot of moves right now, taking advantage of this correction. So if any of your viewers want to see what we're doing with the real estate Bitcoin hybrid, that's where you go.
Beautiful. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Cheers. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you're interested in building your entire financial life around Bitcoin and want to find out how Bitcoin can help you accelerate your time till financial independence, check out this interview I just did with Trey Sellers. We dive into Bitcoin retirement plans and the exact amount you need to retire early on Bitcoin.